In this lecture, let's see how we can connect our Agentforce Vibe to an additional MCP server, and in this case it will be Atlassian or JIRA's MCP server. The goal here is that instead of we giving this prompt like what exactly to build, we want our agent to be able to access JIRA tickets. So as a developer, I'll just give the JIRA ticket ID and it should be able to query that JIRA ticket, get all the summary, description or acceptance criteria from that, and based on that it should create the component. Now to get started with that, if you see right now our agent has access to one MCP server, and that is by default. So it has access to your Salesforce DX MCP server. Now if you want to add more MCP server, then let's go here. First of all, if you see this installed MCP server, then we have this configure MCP server. So this agent have its own mcp.json file. In our MCP section, we discussed that you need to create a mcp.json file here, right? And this file is actually for your IDE. So here in this case, it would be the GitHub Copilot, which will refer this mcp.json file. But right now we are working with individual AI assistant, right? So for this AI assistant, it has its own JSON file. So if you click on this one, you will see that it has its own JSON file, the mcp.json file, which is being used by this AI assistant. So here you see that by default, it has added the Salesforce DX MCP server. So and it's the same one. You see it has access to all the orgs, and then it has access to all these tools. Now if you want to add any more new MCP server, then that should be configured here. Similarly, if I show you this AI assistant, the client AI assistant, and if I go here, configure, and go to the configure MCP server, then it has its own mcp.json file. You see this one, this mcp.json file is for this AI assistant, and this a4d underscore mcp settings.json file is for our Agentforce for developer. Okay, so I hope you understood that these AI assistant will have their own mcp.json file where we have to configure these additional MCP servers. Okay, so let's focus here. And as of now, it has one MCP server added. Now let's see that how to add additional MCP servers. So if you go to the marketplace, you will see all these additional servers here, but you will still have to configure yourself. Right now, if I search for JIRA, then there is one MCP server added here in the marketplace. But the problem with this one is it will actually not work. So if you click on this install, it will actually refer the documentation on this GitHub repo. And based on that, it will try to run this MCP server locally, but it is actually not going to work. And the reason for that is, let's actually click on this one. So it will open up this GitHub repo where this project is hosted. So if you read this readme file here, then it is saying that clone this repo, and then we need to install the dependency using npm. But the problem is there is no package.json file here that I see, and actually it's actually a Python application, but it is expecting us to run this npm command to install the dependency, and that's why I think it's not even working. So that's the problem with this one. So this one is the one that is currently available on the marketplace, but it won't work. So I would not recommend you to install this one or work with this MCP server. Rather, we are going to work with this one, which is kind of very famous here. So if you see, it has like 3.2k stars, 642 folks. This one will actually work. So we are going to work with this GitHub repo, and all the steps to configure this one is actually available here in the readme.md file. So we are going to follow that. Now to work with this, we need few things. First of all, you need a JIRA account, because we would need a API token. Okay, so we would have to create a JIRA account. With that, we can get a API token. And then once we have that, then if you go down here, how to work with this project is the mcp-atlassian is distributed as a Docker image. This is recommended way to run the server, especially for IDE integration. Now to run this one, we actually need Docker, because this project is distributed as a Docker image. Now, if you're not aware of what Docker is, then still you can go easy on that, because we are not going to use it much. It's just that we need it in our system running so that this project can run on that. This Docker image can run on that. Docker is a tool that lets you package your application and all its dependencies into lightweight portable containers. So basically, you can run containers on Docker. So now the first step is we need to set up Docker in our system. So let's download this Docker for Windows. So I'm on Windows system right now. I'll add this link in the resource section. From there you can download it. So let's download this one. Okay, so it is actually downloaded. Let's install this one. So this is the installation for it, and you can keep the default settings and just click on OK, and it will install the Docker in your system. Okay, so it is actually installed. Let's click on close, and let me open this. So this is the Docker. Let's click on accept, and it's saying that to connect with the account. So let's connect with a Google account. I'm going to connect with my Google account here. So here it is asking me to set up a username. Okay, this is allowed. So let's just sign up. Okay, this is already used. Okay, so we have our Docker running, and for you might see an error here, which I also got when I installed it for the first time. And the reason for that is because we are in the Windows system right now. This Docker requires Windows subsystem for Linux to work, and in your system maybe your WSL could be outdated. And how can you check that is just go to CMD here and just run this command WSL. So WSL stands for Windows Subsystem for Linux. Okay, and just check for the version. So mine is already on a latest version. The Docker requires WSL to be on a version 2 or greater than 2. Okay, so mine was actually on a lower version, so I got an error. If you get the same error, you will actually see that error once your Docker is installed. You will start seeing that it will give you that error. If you see that error, or maybe if you don't see that error, just go ahead and update your WSL and update it. So it's saying that my Windows subsystem for Linux is already installed and it is the latest version. So I'm good from here, but from your side, make sure that you run this command WSL update. Even if you're not sure which version you are, just run this command. Okay, if everything is set up correctly, you will see that your Docker is running correctly here. Okay, if you want to learn more about Docker, you can read about it, but for our use case, you just need Docker to be in your system, so that when this server runs, the image file of the Docker container can run on the Docker engine, and you see the engine is currently running. Now once we have that, then if we go back here, we need a Docker, and then we need a JIRA account. So you need a JIRA account because we need a token to be added here. So if you see here, this is how we need to add our MCP server in that config file, and here you see that we need the JIRA API token. So for that we need to create a JIRA account. So let's create that here. So let's just type JIRA sign up. I'm going to use my Google account again. Okay, you can give any name, so this is fine for me. This is the site name. We can say that MCP practice. Okay, it should be actually small case. Okay, this is allowed, so let's continue here. and it is saying that what is your project. So we can say that MCP MCP server, maybe, and any project name that you want to give. So it is saying that what type of work we do. So these are fine. These are the issues that we can have, and these are the status for each issues. Right, so now we have our Jira instance ready. Okay, we have a user here. We just need the token for this Jira, and then we can create some issues here, which we can ask our Agentforce Vibe to look into these issues and work on it. So maybe let's meet in the next lecture, where we will set up this MCP server for this Agentforce Vibe so that it can access all the tickets from this Jira. We have the Docker engine running in the system, and we also have a Jira instance. So if we need an API token, we can get from here. Now let's go back to our VS Code, and here in this MCP servers, right now there is one. So let's add another one, and I will share this configuration file with you. So this is where our first server is. So after this, we can place this second one. And here you see that this is mcp-atlassian MCP server. It will be running on the Docker. So the command is Docker. And here we need to specify the Jira URL, the Jira username, and Jira API token so that it can access the Jira for all the tickets and all. And here it is using the image, the Docker image of this mcp-atlassian GitHub repo. Okay, so now let's get the Jira URL, Jira username, and Jira API token. So for that, let's go here. Your Jira URL is actually this one. So just copy this one till this point. The domain name that you had set up, .atlassian.net. Okay, so just copy this here and paste it here. And then the same you need to paste here as well in the environment. Okay, then the Jira username is actually your email address here. So just copy it here as well as here. And then finally we need the API token. So for that, let's go to account settings. Okay, and here in the security, you will see you have this API token. So create and manage API token, and it will actually ask me to authenticate myself. So now I can create a new API token. I can create a token with all the scopes, or I can create a token with limited scopes. So for now, let's actually create a simple one, and you can give it anything, MCP token. And let's just copy it, keep it handy somewhere because we are going to use it. So for now, let's come here and I'm going to paste it here and as well as here. And after that, just save it here. And then you will start seeing that if everything is fine, your mcp-atlassian will start showing up here. Okay, so this is the configuration that we need to add. In this one, we have to specify the URL of our Jira, the username of this Jira, and all the tokens of that. And now it should show all the tools. Yeah, it's showing all the tools. So where is this server running right now? It's actually running on the Docker. So if you see here, it's actually running here. So this is the image, the Docker image is currently running here. So if I kill it here, let me just kill it here. So now there is no container running. And if I come here and refresh it again, then you will see that it will again start a new container here. Okay, so this MCP server is currently running on Docker, and it is utilizing this username and the API token to get access to this Jira cloud. And from there, this MCP server is going to get a few tools. So you will see all of that here. Now this mcp-atlassian have these tools, Jira get user profile. So, somewhere if it needs a user profile, it can use this tool. And this is the most important one that we are going to see is Jira get issue. So if you give it a issue key, then it will be able to get all the details of that issue, like summary, acceptance criteria, description, and all. Okay, so you see issue key, you need to just give a issue key. If you have created sprints and there are multiple issues there, you can just pass a issue key and it can use this tool to get all the details. And then similarly, Jira search, it will use JQL to search Jira search field. And there are many tools that you can actually explore here. But overall, this MCP server is now configured. And here, if you see now, you will see that we have two MCP servers showing for this Agentforce Vibe. So one is Salesforce DX and one is MCP Atlassian. So again, what are the steps that we did? The first thing that we did was we installed Docker. Now the Docker is needed because this GitHub project is actually published as a Docker image. So it needs a Docker to run that image file. We installed the Docker. Then the next step was we created a JIRA account, and in that one we created a JIRA account, and from there we got a token. So we created an API token. Then in the a4d_mcp.settings.json file, how did I reach to this file? So for that, just go here in your MCP server, installed, and click on configure MCP server. Then this file will automatically open. In this one, you will already see one server is already added, which is the Salesforce DX server. And then we added one more MCP Atlassian server. In this one, we pass the JIRA URL, JIRA username, JIRA API token. So if you don't have Docker running, then this MCP server won't run. So, and once you have that and you refresh here, then you will see that the image will run on the Docker. So actually we are ready now to utilize this JIRA to get all the issue detail, and this agent will be able to get the issues, and then it can create the components, and then using the Salesforce DX, it can actually deploy to the org. So let's see a few examples in the next lecture.